Well, so I'd like to call the order of the Curriculum Committee and Student Development Committee in Madison Board of Education. Our committee is made up of Kathy Miller, who is with us tonight, myself, Steve Finn, and Marianne Connolly, who cannot be with us tonight. At this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to our Assistant Superintendent to introduce what we have on our agenda in terms of curriculum tonight.
Thank you very much. I'd like to welcome back to our committee, Jenna Guzzi. Jen's been here a few times, many times over the years. This time she is bringing to us proposals for textbook adoptions for American Sign Language, Latin, and Mandarin Chinese. So it's been quite some time since we've had textbook adoptions from the World Language Department. So it's exciting to see what's out there now. I will mention in advance of her presentation that one of the things that you'll see very common in textbooks right now is an online resource provision that's happening all the time. And those provisions are happening in every discipline. And I mention that because it does make me pause when I think about preparing my budget for next year, because it's not just paying for the textbook, it's paying for the online resources too over time. So that's an important support that comes along with it side by side. And I think that every time we do any kind of online commitment, I always do kind of an inventory of how much use it's getting before we renew. So that's a promise that I make to the board, is that we kind of scrutinize the use too before we commit to doing online resources. So I know there's some of that with these adoptions, but I don't want you to feel alone in that, because it's all disciplines and it's really part of the industry standard, I think, right now. It is. And so Jen, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thanks so much for coming. Thank you. And thanks to your family for sharing you with us today.
Yes.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me. All right, so textbook adoption. The first one we have is American Sign Language. This is a new course for next year, so it absolutely needs a textbook of some kind, please. And partly we've Katie Erickson and Davey Bryan have been working together to write the curriculums. They're through about 2.5 units out of what they imagine will be 4. So they're making really solid progress. Maybe 5 of the first units more introductory. And they were fortunate to have the ability to go. They took a release day and they went to visit a couple of other programs and talk to other ISL teachers and have really networked to get great feedback from other teachers of the deaf. And they have asked, Katie in particular has asked for this, which is Signing Naturally. It is the most popular ASL textbook in the country. This is ginormous because it's the teachers version. So don't think that this is what we're asking for teachers, but it does have all of the student pages in it. So you can see, you know, what it is that we're asking for. Primarily, we like that it has visual representation. It's too really tiny for me to show you from here, but it has visual representation for the cues, for how to do the signs with motion included. It has a diversity of people who are shown as far as considering equity and inclusion. It does have a digital platform we would not be asking for a subscription for every student. We are very fortunate to have the language laboratory that has been supported by this board, so we can use that platform to share out videos, as well as having the Promethean boards in every classroom. So we can work around that need to have a subscription for every single student. That being said, what the digital platform for this one is not wonderful. And so they're asking for an ancillary program called ASL Defined. And if you want to look at it, it's just a free trial for a week. It's online. You can sign up for a free trial, but that's only $12 a person, and I can support that out of my budget as well. So it's not a significant cost with one section. Any questions about ASL?
In every grade level participate, freshman through senior?
So we have a maximum of in the class of 16 students, because it's so visual. She can only see so many students at a time in terms of that receptive language. And if we allowed only seniors to, like, if we allowed all 4 grades to take it equally and only seniors took it, then no one would be taking ASL 2 because they would all graduate. There were like 50 requests for it for 16 spots. So what we said is priority goes to seniors who need a language requirement. After that, we would cap it at a maximum of 4 seniors to ensure that we would have enough population for another year. But I don't think that there are any seniors enrolled for next year. I think it's all freshmen through juniors, and that's that intentionality of making sure that there's a population for the following year.
And I know we put a seal, bilingual seal on at graduation on their diploma.
Yes.
Would this count as a language?
Yes, it does. And the STAMP assessment does have a way to assess it. But that being said, there's no expectation that 2 years of a language would get someone to intermediate proficiency. We do have a student who has hearing loss, who is, proficient, who can take it, just as we have a student testing tomorrow for Korean. Because it's a language that they speak at home. So we certainly would offer and work with people to be assessed for SEAL by literacy, but that's a little bit separate.
Can you speak a little bit to what is the goal of the outcome that we would hope for students in this course?
I think for any language, the hope is to increase, their ability to communicate with more people in the world, to be able to maybe travel differently. I know ASL's works a little bit differently as far as the travel, but part of the course, particularly for ASL 1, is not just an introduction to sign language, but an introduction to deaf culture. That's a really important, understanding of what it is and what a part of that course is. So, promoting awareness, equity, and inclusion, learning another language, another culture is a great way to promote that awareness in our country.
Is there any opportunity for students that take this course to have any interaction with members of the deaf community?
The teacher herself is a member of the deaf community, for one. Beyond that, I don't know. I'm going to be honest, I don't know. I would certainly hope that there would be a chance to perhaps have a field trip or something to, we have schools for the deaf in Connecticut and nearby. We would certainly support that. I think it would be wonderful. But I don't think that we've written anything specifically into the curriculum. It would certainly be supported beyond that.
From my perspective, it would be worth pursuing. I also would like to underscore in this course in particular, the video aspect.
Yes.
And the visual interaction. There are a number of opportunities that are out there for students to become pretty proficient. And, and the evidence says if you don't use it and you don't have that contact, you don't hang on to it very long. So, I'm very excited that this is being offered. And I see it as potentially a great opportunity for young people, particularly if they have, some extensions that are open to them in terms of interacting with the deaf community.
Absolutely.
Can I ask, with regard to the book itself, the specimen you brought with you is the teacher's version.
Yeah.
Is the student version fully hardbound, Or is it also wire bound like that?
I'm not 100% positive.
Because I'm a little bit concerned about how well it'll pass down from students. Stand up to,
I don't even have the quote with me because I sent it so late. That's the wrong one. You have it, so I'm sorry. But I think if there were hardbound option, I know I got hardbound for Subrani, but not for Chinese with specific reasons.
you know, books are so expensive. these days.
No,
You pay
absolutely.
The last for 1 year and then.
While we're checking on that, I do
Yes.
want to also add that this committee will see the curriculum come for adoption before the fall because it is a new course. So it is currently being written, as Jen explained. And we always try to partner people and not have them write by themselves because it's very limiting to your thinking, and it's also very difficult to kind of create equality with all the requirements that we have in Madison if you're writing by yourself. So David Bryan, who Jen mentioned, is actually a Latin teacher and has become a very good generalist in curriculum writing. So even though he is not an American Sign Language teacher, he is a great generalist and a good brain partner.
Yes, and Katie, who's our speaker, teacher of the deaf, interprets in one of Davy's classes, so they got to know each other that way, and he's, you know, picked up on a bunch of the signs because he's about the smartest person I've ever met. So that's been really cool that he's incorporated that as well. I apologize, the quote does not say if it's hardbound or not, but I can follow up on that for you because I understand your concern on that.
That's, I mean, it is what it is. I just, you know.
Yes.
Just one consideration.
Yes.
I have one other question. While you're writing curriculum, are you considering adding some elements of possibilities as a career path? You know,
Yes.
as kids can like think about that doing this as a job.
Yes,
As a-
we
as
are
a-
always in all of our
Good.
languages
Good.
saying we have signs going up in the language lab that are saying, here are careers that you can pursue if you like this aspect of the language versus that aspect of the language, and for all languages. So absolutely. Yes, we stress regularly that being bilingual in any language will earn you about $10,000 more per year for the rest of your life in any career except for being a teacher.
There you go.
That's right.
And that's less.
I think it pushes you up into, you know, being chosen, you know, for a job. Or
Absolutely.
it puts you ahead of someone else.
Yeah, all else being equal, if you're bilingual, you're being chosen.
100%. So I think it's great for kids to understand that. So they can invest their,
Yes.
So we were talking about David Bryan. Latin's our next one.
Latin is next.
So with that, yeah. And David, correct me if I'm wrong, but before this,
Mhm.
David was writing his own textbook.
Yes, so what you'll see in EduPlanet is Cambridge Latin.
Mhm.
That is not accurate because Davy participated in the innovation lab and with permission, piloted writing his own books. Like he's written his own packets and stories and everything connecting to mythology, and that's what he has been using. So that's why we're asking for Subrani book 1, but at this point not asking for book 2. So the supplemental text is needed for Latin 1 and 2. After that, it kind of becomes AP bound, even though it's Latin 3 and then 4 is AP. The AP curriculum is just impossible in 1 year. So he really is kind of bound to that. But Subrani, this is a new product, and it was really written in response to Cambridge being the most the most common, but really not great on the equity and inclusion side, and particularly disrespectful representation of slavery. And while there was slavery in ancient Rome, and it's important to be historically accurate, we also need to be respectful of all of our population. So Subrani is known for doing a much better job of doing both of those things, maintaining historical accuracy, but also showing you know, respectful treatment of all the different roles and societal positions in ancient Rome. It's a beautifully illustrated book. It has tons of, you know, little cultural moments. This is soft cover because it's a sample copy, but hardcover for sure. And that's really, you know, Davey can make Cambridge work, he could make Superani work, he can make his own stuff work, but because of that equity piece, that's really like the prime difference in his mind and why he's requesting this book. And then he thinks that the grammatical side of this is not quite as strong as some of the other texts, but he has already written his own grammatical ancillaries for everything. So he wants to continue using those to supplement. And then we think that this book might stretch out over 2 years for the reading side of things. And if it doesn't, I'll be back next year to ask for Superani.
Now, how does this process compare with the curriculum review process with the committee? This is within the world language department, and what is that process of comparing?
Yeah,
So forth?
so textbooks are used to support the curriculum. The curriculum units are already written, developed, reviewed, and adopted by the board. So if in fact something changes because of a textbook support, Jen and I would meet and go over those changes. So there is an addendum piece that if you change an assessment, and David writes a new performance-based assessment based on this text, that he could make the change in that assessment with Jen presenting it to myself and me going through it, making sure that it hits all the hallmarks. However, if the textbook creates a whole new creation of the outcomes for students in a unit, a whole unit, and it changes its focus, then it goes through the whole process again, and you end up back reviewing it here after CRC gives feedback. So it depends. We expect teachers to make changes to lesson plans all the time, stage 3. We want them to do that. We want them to create better and better and more engaging pieces. And many times that's where a textbook might supplement is the learning in the learning plans. So it doesn't really change the outcomes or the unit design, doesn't really change the assessment, but it just might change the amount of materials that they're using and the ways that they're covering that content. So textbooks do not drive our curriculum here. They actually supplement the curriculum that we've developed. Yes.
And as I said,
Jen would know that
yeah.
better than anybody.
You know, that Cambridge is what's currently written into the curriculum as a support. And, you know, so all of those are technically incorrect at the moment anyways and need to be updated. And Davey did say that he thinks Superani very closely aligns with stage 1. And that all the projects and the PBAs and everything would pretty much be able to stay.
And Jen, as coordinator, meets with me on a regular basis, and she already has document drafted for her department on the changes that they want to make in this next curricular cycle. So, you know, we're always kind of keeping track of like what the next projects are going to be. There's a lot in world language. It goes say they cause me pause. They keep me going.
We're excited.
They
Any other questions about Latin? The last one is integrated Chinese. This is the textbook, and which is available in hardcover. The request I made is for soft cover. I have a reason for that I can explain. And then the workbook. So first of all, the reason for that the changes requested is because when Chinese was written as a curriculum and 12 years ago, this book did not exist. What we adopted at that time was called Ni Hao. It's fine, we've been making it work. Well, I say we, Mr. Kern has been making it work for this time, but it really is a more juvenile and middle school approach to the language. The kids aren't, you know, super engaged in it. And that was appropriate when the program was first being built. We actually needed to generate some interest and get some students to want to take the class. Since then, UConn has created, you know, a UConn Chinese. They use integrated Chinese book 3, which we already have. And we already have integrated Chinese book 2 that we've been using as an ancillary for some time. So changing to integrated Chinese 1 for Mandarin 1 would actually help the sequence. It would increase the rigor appropriately, and that the target audience is much more appropriate to our high school students. You know, there's an amazing, the digital platform for this one is the most expensive of the 3. It's actually like $235 for like one, for just the teacher access, but it has lots of stuff. And as I said, we have the language lab, we have the Promethean board, so we can make it work just with that. I don't think we need the individual student subscriptions. The reason that I would recommend or that I prefer the soft cover is we want to buy the class sets, but then actually make photocopies because the kids write all over them. Right, and we want them to be able to actually write and look at and see, and they highlight different parts and see the way they work. So we have to have the class set for that to not violate copyright law. But beyond that, that's why we don't need the hardcover and why a soft cover would be reasonable.
So more like workbooks.
They're more like workbooks, yes. Otherwise, we find that the kids, even with the hardcover, would just write in the book and then we're just chasing them down and ordering them and replacing all the time, so.
What kind of interest is there for the Mandarin course? What kind of numbers?
I think there's about 20 for Mandarin 1 next year, which is pretty significant considering that we've added a 5th language and we have declining enrollment. So. We're doing well.
It's a challenging language.
It is.
Very
It is, in terms of the number of hours it takes to become proficient, Mandarin is more than double what Spanish is or French.
Do you think?
Do they learn writing and learn how to write all those characters as well?
They do the pinyin writing, which is writing it out with letters, all right, with our American alphabet, right? But also with characters, they do both. So it goes slowly for that reason. It's a tonal language, so you can say the same word 4 different ways and it means 4 different things. So they spend a lot of time on that pronunciation practice and also the receptive side of it too, right? Listening to that, it's very challenging.
And 230 characters. All right.
Yeah.
230.
Yes.
Any questions for Jen? I'm gonna have Jen lead the sample, so if you want to learn a language, you have the opportunity as a little learner.
Thanks for all your hard work.
Thank you, Jen.
Thank you
Jen.
so much.
Thank you.
Takes a lot of work to
is
get
a
all
lot.
of those books. I appreciate it.
Thank you
Thanks
so
again,
much.
Jen. And next I'd like to welcome Leah Stillman back to our committee. You might recall that Leah is the person who's leading the curriculum course this year. It's a 1-year cycle for music that's K through 12, performing arts actually, including theater. So that is a pretty complicated assignment. Leah's been leading it with style and grace and performance. So I appreciate that. She's here tonight to give you an overview of her progress to date. I'm trying to make sure that you saw Sarah a little bit before, and you'll also have kind of some updates at the end of April for the whole board on some of the work that we're doing in wellness. This is a chance for Leah to share with you the progress that Performing Arts has made. So when we come to you in June for adoption of those courses, you'll be pretty well informed and situated and acclimated as to what's happening. So they've actually done quite a bit. So I'm going to turn it over to Leah with my thanks.
All right, thank you. Good evening. I'm really excited to share the progress that we've been making in the music and theater department for the curriculum rollout, which will be here before we know it. So I'm going to give you a little update by level a little bit to kind of get you up to speed as to what we've been working on. I've been pulling teachers since the summer, but really since September on each level. Really started at the K-5 level first, trying to build the foundation, and then progressing up. Now I'm working with the high school, and we're tweaking parts of each level as we're working on the next one, and really progressing from there. So where are we now? These pictures are great. These are our schools and our programs. So this is not stock photos. These are Madison. So really representing all levels here a little bit. We have Folsom Theater on the right down there. 6th grade band. There's Tara Lynn with the high school. That's middle school orchestra, and then Brown music down on the bottom left there. So it's kind of hard to see, but the bottom of it, but we're going to be rolling out our philosophy, which, as you know, in the process, every department has a kind of blanketed philosophy of their department. This is not short, but try to highlight some of the real key points to it. Music education offers a unique learning opportunity to explore individual creativity, artistic expression, understanding of past and present cultures. I kind of just go through the highlights here. Discover deeper meanings of human emotions, opportunities to grow emotionally, mentally, physically. And one of the big things we always tout is that with a support system of peers and an ensemble setting as they rise up through the system. Provides necessary life skills such as self-discipline, self-expression, responsibility, patience, teamwork. We're offering a comprehensive program that really focuses on self-discipline and focus, increased confidence. And we believe that this will develop the lifelong learning abilities of whatever's behind the ticker there. I can't quite read the bottom. That's okay. Thanks. And aesthetic skills necessary, thanks, to contribute to a more cultured, educated society. So I worked with my team of teachers and we shared a Google Doc and went back and forth and discussed where we really felt we stood. And this really, I feel like, is a comprehensive statement that blankets K through 12, what we're offering. And then with that, maybe. Help me out, thanks. The second part of it, our delivery method and values, we believe that all students should have a comprehensive, balanced, and progressive curriculum of in-school instruction in music education. Through a planned sequential curriculum, Madison Public Schools will educate each student with the guidance of the National Core Music Standards, enabling students to engage in the 4 artistic processes, which are creating, performing, responding, and connecting. So I'm going to highlight first our intermediate program that we developed. K2 is a lot about exploration of body and voice and really understanding how you work in the music world or how your body works, and movement based, vocal, rhythm, internal rhythm. And then we get to 3rd grade and we introduce instruments and we start with recorder in the 3rd grade. Every parent's favorite instrument. And then we move up to
crossbones.
Right, exactly. And then we move up to grades 4 and 5. And I'm really excited because we've had already started to develop this 5th grade program with Xylorhythms, where the students are really learning ensemble skills in the classroom setting. Every student is able to access the Xylo. They don't need high energy, a lot of airflow, any of that, right? Pick up a pair of mallets, learn a hand position, work with your peers. They're learning the Xylo skills, the piano skills on top of that, all within that. Well, now we added to kind of sandwich our recorder and Xylo, we added ukulele to the 4th grade curriculum. And that's been a lot of fun to develop. And Chris Murphy, who's teaching it down at Brown, or up at Brown, I should say, has piloted it this year. And in the next slide in a minute, I'll show you, there's a little video clip. You can see the 4th graders performing with the ukulele. It's been a really neat process. So these are just a highlight of the units that we've written. You'll get a more detailed synopsis in June when we roll out the whole curriculum. So I'm gonna go for it. This is neat. We don't have to watch the whole clip, but it's a, if we have sound. So just a little taste of what they're doing down at Brown. The great thing with the generous curriculum budget, now that we're here, is that we were able to secure the ukuleles now to try and build some of that curriculum, to test it out, to see what's working and what's not, so.
The kids love it.
They are really enjoying it.
Yeah,
And
it's so great.
And you know, there's so much more physical growth that is involved in it, because not only are they working with strumming patterns and learning, you know, the intricacies of their left hand and just even open strumming, but here comes the vocal piece with it. So they're developing even, you know, stronger muscle memory in so many different ways that it's helpful all around. So
The interconnectedness of like your whole group, like staying on beat with everybody. I love it. I
yeah,
love it.
absolutely.
Thanks. I don't know if you can tell what the right things are. Do you want to talk a little bit about those, Leah, and how Chris uses them?
Oh, sure. Those
Those are not desks.
they're not.
I thought they were
Those
beat
upside
buckets
down
flipped.
buckets, yeah.
They are,
Okay.
they're, she does bucket drumming with them. Yes, so teaching rhythm through, like, you know, go to Home Depot and get the Lowe's or, you know, the Lowe's or Home Depot buckets or those sorts of things.
Yeah.
So you're actually
Um,
seeing two instruments there. You see bucket drumming and
That's
also
so
ukuleles.
great.
And she started that during COVID. How to get kids to engage with music using the buckets.
At home.
And
or-
no, when they were in class, she would
Oh, I
actually
thought you meant
go
like
from
when they were-
classroom to classroom with a stack of buckets and that's how the kids would engage in music because we weren't singing as much vocally, so. Good things do come from good.
Absolutely. Absolutely right.
Right.
And then we move up to the middle school, and these are the courses that have been developed already. We continue our fifth grade instrumental program, which is a taste in fifth grade, and in sixth grade, the students can choose, they have to choose one performing arts, whether it be theater or music. So the three that the music department offers is band, orchestra, and chorus. We offer you know, band and orchestra in fifth, their first choral experience is sixth right now. And we're calling it foundations because even if a student doesn't play in fifth grade, they can still pick up and join us in sixth, even seventh, you know. The hard thing with the music program is it is really sequential in the, especially in the instrumental path. But having opportunities for students to be able to still pick up and join in at this level is great. And then you get up to seventh and eighth and they can continue with band or orchestra chorus. And then we add in our digital music course, which we piloted last year. I piloted and taught at Polson, and now John Leonard is teaching this year. And that curriculum, I believe, just went to review today, so. So the neat thing about the digital music program at the middle school, and I'm excited to also kind of share with you the rollout of the high school technology courses next. But the neat thing about the digital music course is there's no prereq, there's no anything, any student can take it. And we offer for seventh and eighth, it's the same course, they can take it in either grade, so they have more opportunity to get that in. And like I said, they're taking what they learned in elementary school, even rhythmically and otherwise. They don't even need that basis, although it's a nice foundation to take this course. And this course ties in, we purchase a student seats to what's called Soundtrack, which is a DAW program. It's a digital audio workstation. The reason why I chose Soundtrack is because it is Chromebook compatible. It doesn't cost the district any extra in terms of extra technology. So the students can be on their Chromebooks, they can take it home with them, they can access the online portal and work on their projects if they'd like. Also, some of them like to go home and create beats and ringtones and all kinds of cool stuff. And then what we did was we ordered 49 keyboards, and they're USB powered. So there's no power running around the room. They plug right into their Chromebook when they come in, pair of headphones, keyboard, and you know, teacher direction. And what comes with it is we've kind of adopted this Shed the Music curriculum, which each kid gets a seat to also, each student gets a seat to. And within that, our video lessons and projects, and then we've taken that and put our own twist on it in our own curriculum here in Madison. So using parts of Soundtrap, parts of Shed the Music, and really giving kids access to more with less, which is always a great thing for tax dollars to stretch a little further for programming. So I thought I'd share a little bit of, this is actually at the end of the year last year, we did a lot of surveying of students on every level as we're doing it, as we're writing curriculum. And I did an end of year survey last year with the digital music students. So I wanted to share some of the feedback that we received. So a few of the questions, the first one, what musical skill have you developed the most this year? And if you read some of the comments, they're really neat because some of them are concrete skills and some of them are really things that aren't only just music based, but skills that they've learned in cooperation or learning to be creative. They've learned how to subdivide notes, but they've also really learned how to collaborate together. And they come out of this course actually with some basic piano skills too, and an understanding of major scales, and without even realizing that they're learning it a lot of the time. So, and then the second question, what was your favorite part of the music tech experience? And we based a lot of the curriculum on this feedback, collaborating with other students, learning how to use Soundtrap, making music that I want to, right? Really, it gives them a lens to really be creative throughout the whole course. So, and one of their favorite is the ringtone. We do a little ringtone project where kids then get to download the ringtone onto their phone, and they can, if they have one, and that's the ringtone they created. So kind of neat connection. Okay, and music technology has been shown to increase student motivation through self-learning. The course is very self-directed. The kids work at their own pace, and which is nice because if you have students that come in with a skill set already in music, they can push a little further, and there's some extension work, and the students that need a little bit more support, they can hang back and work at their own pace on different projects within this non-traditional lens. And I've already talked a little bit about Soundtrap. So, okay, now we move over to theater, staying at Polson. We've changed the landscape a little bit and changed the names of some courses. Grade 6 is a general theater arts class, kind of piggybacking on what they're getting at Brown right now in the 4-5 theater program. They can pick, like I said before, they have to pick music or theater in 6th grade. And so they can choose theater arts, which is a general theater course on everything to do with stage and theater. And then they go into 7th grade, and now they can choose whether they want to focus, if they want to stay in the theater program, focus on the acting portion or the acting and musical theater end of things. So, and the biggest thing is that students know that if they're coming into the theater program, that there is an expectation that they're going to perform in some capacity. They don't have to be the lead starring role, but they also get that skill set of public speaking, which is huge to push them up to the next level. So those will be rolled out and introduced next. And just a little taste of the grade 6 theater course, which is developed already. We finished it. We're just about finished with stage 3 in this. And you can see how it moves through. It starts with movement, voice, and technical acting skills. And then unit 2 is kind of the meat of the course, where they're putting every course at Polson puts on a performance for family and friends in the evening as a culminating project. So unit 2 is really the meat of that. And then unit 3 is called Intro to the Playoffs. This is something that the middle school theater program started years ago, and it moves through 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And it's kind of neat because the students get to watch the different grade levels also. If they're in the theater program, the 6th graders watch what the 8th graders, they're actually now creating their own plays. In 6th grade, they're choosing some original plays that are already written and learning how to create characters within those plays. And when they get to 7th and 8th, then they're actually writing their own play. And then they have a fun thing where the teachers come down and judge them, and they get the prize of who wins the playoffs. And so it's a nice little ending to their theater experience. Here's the grade 7 units, character study, rehearsal process, and again, the playoffs. And with the musical theater classes, in 7th grade, they go into some classical musical masterworks, like I would say the first few decades of musical theater. And then if you go to grade 8, they go into contemporary theater. So they do not have to take 7th grade musical theater in order to take 8th grade musical theater, and vice versa, but it does give them a little more of a depth if they do both. Okay, moving up to the high school. As you can see, some of our experiences that our students have up there are pretty awesome. I wanted to show you a snapshot of the changes in the course book for next year. As you can see, the 22-23 courses that we offer now are on the left. And they're broken down into the top 4 are the general courses. You don't need experience in the music program in terms of you don't need ensemble performance experience to take these courses. We had Music Theory 1, Music Theory 2, Piano 1, Piano 2, traditional. Now we've moved over to Theory and Composition, which is similar to your Theory 1, but adds a little more composition and a little more digital twist to it. And that leads into, if they take the Theory and Composition, or if they have recommendation, they can take now, we're offering an AP class. So that's huge. In the music department, we have not offered an advanced placement class. So we were waiting to see what the interest was, and we have really good interest on that level. So we're going to be running that class next year for the first time, and Ron Soja is going to be getting certified to teach the AP theory class. And then we kind of went away from the traditional Piano 1 and 2, and we are now offering piano and digital audio, which is a mix of learning traditional piano and learning the digital audio piece on top of it. So piano and digital audio mixes traditional piano. They do read from the book also, with GarageBand on the Macs at the high school, where they're creating their own rhythms behind, and they're learning how to break down chords, and then they're kind of melding it together. And it's a trimester course, and it culminates with I think I'm going to talk more about it in the next slide, but it culminates with actually a live performance with their own creative composition that they recorded behind it. So we took pieces of all of it because we really wanted to also have the integrity of the students being able to perform, but also not just say, oh, let me press play and play for you what I wrote, right? Now they can press play and play at the same time. So, and then the 4th course is the Intro to Music Technology, which is, we're using GarageBand, if you're familiar, which is a DAW program, a digital audio workstation. With Intro to Music Technology, we cut out that traditional piano piece, and it's really them learning the platform, and they're using Logic, which is a step up in the Apple world, a little more intricate in terms of composition and digital technology. So those are new. As you can see, our concert band, symphonic band, jazz band stays the same, new curriculum, and then the chorus also, we changed the name of show choir band to show band. So that way those students could be used across other performing groups if they're needed or wanted to do that. And then the orchestra, same courses, we've revamped the names to modernize them a little bit. So. And really excited that we've been approved that our piano and digital audio course, as well as our Intro to Music Technology, will fulfill also a STEM elective. So with the extra requirements for high school students right now, they need an extra STEM, an extra humanities. They can now fulfill those in the music department also if they're really into that. And then also the Theory and Composition and the AP Music Theory will fulfill a humanities elective. And that's all based on the standards that we've woven into the curriculum to meet that goal. And here's just a taste of the piano digital audio course that went to review I think this week also. Getting to know, so unit 1 starts with getting to know the keyboard and digital software. No book, it's all patterns and learning the technology. And then unit 2, we add the traditional book into it. So they're doing both at the same time. In unit 3, we get into a little more about the fundamentals of composing with chord breakdowns and expanded keyboard fluency. And then, like I had talked about before, unit 4 is the culmination where the students have a live recital with their own compositions behind them. And the Mac software being used to implement coursework at Daniel Hand, we're using Finale, which we were able to update this year, which is great. Finale is a music composition software. It's point and click. You can write music, you can print out manuscript paper, and really we use it as educators too to write out things and those sorts of things. So it really is used across a lot of disciplines in music, Logic, like I talked about, and also GarageBand. So we're really excited to be able to use a lot of the technology that we've already had in the lab with the new curriculum. And finally, through the generous curriculum budget, we were able to enhance a few things. We added audio boxes at Polson and Daniel Hand for the music tech classes. Audio boxes basically allow you to plug in guitars, basses, microphones, other peripherals to be able to record right into the software. So students can take it a step further in the technology classes, because we also ordered electric guitars, basses, microphones. We ordered some items where students can plug 4 or 5, they used to be called jam hubs. They don't unfortunately make those anymore. We got something similar. They can plug 4 or 5 headphones in at once. They can all be working with a small ensemble. And you could have 3 or 4 of those in a room and it wouldn't be invasive to everything else going on because they're really working within their unit. So really excited to get to that point with the students up there. And we have such great space up at Hand with, if you've been up to the music wing up there with different practice rooms and spaces that we're going to be able to outfit with some next level technology for the students. Like I said before, grade 4, we added the ukuleles, and then we also added a set of world music drumming, drums and auxiliary instruments to Polson that we're hoping to be able to kind of link within the wellness program and the music program together. So that's coming up also. So stay tuned for June when we roll out the entire curriculum.
A lot of work.
Great, thank you.
Sure. Any questions?
Did you say that it's K-12?
K-12, yes.
What do we have for pre?
So we've been focusing on K-12 as the core.
Yeah.
And then as we've been, after we developed that, we've been going down to pre-K. You will see this year an adoption of pre-K language arts as the first pre-K curriculum that we've written. Next will be math, and then we'll go on to the other disciplines.
Do they have a music program, or do they
Yeah.
have music that's what I meant, like
They
it's not
do.
necessarily curriculum, but because I know that's kind of, it goes across everything, but
Yeah, the providers for pre-K, whether it's art, music, PE, are the same providers that are in our elementary schools.
oh, okay.
So a fractional piece of them goes down to TCLC.
Oh,
So we've been able to do that since I've been here for a long time. Although they are really doing kind of foundational work for kids to enter kindergarten. So since they're the same people who do the kindergarten, they're actually starting there. So, yeah.
I know for a while in the middle levels, I think intermediate, there was like a new music program that you were working on that was it called Crash or something like that, or some.
Xylorhythms was the
Yeah.
new program. Yeah, and that's the one where, all kids are participating. It was the first time that we did it when 2019. 2019 was the first time we ran that program. So it was outfitting ground school with a significant amount of material. Also getting the music teachers to develop the course. They actually came up with it you probably are thinking about that, with a model that was, I could see the kids playing it. Something leopards that was modeled after another.
Louisville Leopards.
Louisville leopards. And that was the inspiration with the idea that, prior to that, our kids were shown instruments, on pretty much a demonstration kind of moment where, they would be shown, like, here's all these instruments, pick one, that's what you would play without having any experience, having collectively played a piece, other than the recorders and hot crossbones. So we were trying to develop, a little bit more sophistication and reward, along with the idea that everybody can be a musician and does have musicality in them. And that was the xylorhythms, the opportunity to build in the ukuleles came this year, and Chris grabbed onto it. We were able to kind of really now have recorders, ukuleles, and xylorhythms, and then also percussion drums. So a little bit more sequence and more opportunities for kids.
Thank you. And then the other thing that I just took a brief note, it really seems to me like there's been a thoughtful expansion of the performing arts program, and the creative deconstruction of like a survey course and a reconstruction into like a deeper craft and more offerings. Is that accurate? And if so, I think that's really great.
Thank you.
That's a really
I
great.
appreciate you noticing that.
Yeah.
One of the neat things about this process, for my department, and I think I can speak for all of them, is to really take a look at the K-12 lens, not just, this is my building, this is what I do.
Yeah.
And it's been really cool to see their buy-in to say, and I feel like this kind of goes hand in hand with what you're saying, right? Let's look at what we're doing now, and oh wow, you're doing this down there. Let's see how we can expand on that, right? And make sure that we're building on that skill set up to the next level. It was also a lot of, all right, well, if they're gonna take any performing ensemble at Polson, let's mirror the subjects, band, orchestra, chorus. So even though the output is different, it's a flute or a violin or your voice, you're still getting the same skill set of the melodic piece and the rhythm and all the other skills that go into it. So there's really been a nice alignment, and with that has kind of, like you said, this kind of deconstructing and then reconstructing to make it better. And then that's allowed us to build even bigger at the high school and middle school level in terms of what we can offer and what we can offer to the students.
And I know, we're regarded as a sports crazy town, but second to that, maybe secretly even larger than that, is the arts, appreciation and performance in our town. And I think it's awesome. One of my daughters went to a performing arts college program. That she didn't have the background that is now going to be day forward. And I think more students would be supported in those pursuits with this new expanded set of offerings and deeper study into it. And I congratulate you. Thank you for going
Thanks,
that
that's the
direction.
hope, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I love the progression. I love how comprehensive it is. I love the big ideas that underpin the entire program, which is everybody's musical and the business of, creativity and music, is part of what defines us, but that's easy to say. It has to be manifest in lots of different choices and opportunities that clearly that offers. On the elementary and middle school level, what is the frequency that students are being exposed to music in terms of courses during the week?
So for K through 3, right now, and things are gonna change obviously as our schools change, right? And we don't know what that, we'll eventually know what that looks like, but probably similar. For K through 3, they go to music once a week. And they have a 40-minute music class, so it's about 35 to 40 lessons a year at 40 minutes each. And then when they get to 4th and 5th grade right now, they're on what they call a wheel, which took me a while when I got to Madison to understand. Which is, they get each trimester different experiences, and there's 2 music courses on that wheel. So they get a trimester each in each grade, one of Xylo and one of general music. That will change as the curriculum changes. I believe it'll be more standard where they will have one music experience. 4th grade will be that general music with the youth, and then 5th grade is the general music with the Xylos. When they get to Polson, they have to choose a performing art. They don't have to choose music. They choose music or theater right now. And that's every other day for a year, so it's 90 classes. They did extend so they only have 2 electives, they used to have 3, but they extended the time, so we have them for 53 minutes each instead of, I think it was 42 before. Which is great, an extra 10 minutes, especially when you're dealing with ensemble classes and students have to put instruments together and take them apart or get warmed up, and it gives more time for instruction. 7th and 8th grade is the 42 minutes, and it's also every other day, but it's a choice now. There's no requirement after 6th grade. So then they choose. At the high school, they're either semester or trimester long courses, the theory and the general tech ones, and then everything else is the performance are year-long everyday course. So, but they're 40 minutes instead of 60. They split it with their lunch. They get it all year.
Because part of the reason why I love your question is that where we can take advantage of building and scaffolding experiences for kids before they have a chance to choose, then hopefully they have enough of an experience where they're making a choice that fits them. But also the idea, and Leah hit on it several times, of the fluid nature of middle school. So if you choose one thing one year, you can re-enter music in the following year. And I had the chance to see the department talk with the Brown students about going up to Polson and what that would be. The department was wonderful about saying, don't worry about it. If you didn't have that experience, I'll teach you, I'll catch you up. So really kind of embracing the idea that these are developing kids and they don't really know what they want until they try it. So it's like a palette.
How many ukuleles can you buy for the price of one standing bass?
Oh, God. A lot.
I thought you were gonna ask how many music teachers that they like that then. Right.
Have you had an opportunity to, and I don't know how far we are along with the building, the new building. But I know as a teacher, it's always like, oh, whenever you have a specialty, it's like, I want to make sure I have the space and a great,
Hot topic.
yeah.
So have I been
I don't know, had any input in that or any,
I have a little. I'm hoping that as we roll out talking about the Polson auditorium changes
Yeah.
and some thoughts more internally about the buildings as they come to fruition, that I'm sure those conversations will come.
Good.
And I've already made it apparent that I'd love to be a part of that. So
Yeah,
I'm sure
good.
that when the time
I
is
hope
right.
it will be, yeah, because that's important.
I have to say,
Absolutely.
space is at a premium in
Yeah.
elementary buildings, we have a lot of little bodies, so I
Yeah.
think that. We're trying to have some flexibility in spaces, which would allow for more storage, things like that,
Yeah,
as we can. But also understanding populations change.
it
they
is
ebb
what it
and flow.
is, yeah, but I'm also thinking like, types of risers, like there's all different types of things now that like, or things that can be stored away so that you can have dancing and like, I don't know, I'm just,
That level of detail, we're not at.
yeah,
But there
just start to think about that stuff.
there are a lot of things in my former role in another district. I helped design
Good,
some school buildings, music
Good.
spaces specifically. So
yeah,
hopefully, I'm sure when that conversation comes, and
yeah, like start dreaming and, see-
always.
I mean,
Storage
yeah.
is a big one. I think that's the
Storage,
feedback.
yeah, like
Actually,
that's a, but like,
able
is
to
there,
address that.
yeah,
And I think keeping the stage, you know, at one point, I think. When all things, and they still are in terms of finances as
Yeah,
well. Was
yeah.
when all things were on the table, that was one of the things that I think they looked at, but. That is still
Yeah.
the plan is to keep the stage at the new building, but storage close to the music areas.
Yeah.
At a premium, as Gail mentioned, but also keeping it as a flexible space, so Brown's. You know, music rooms are more geared towards the middle school,
Yeah.
so we'll have to look at that as well as we go through.
Yeah, just to have your input, because I feel like as a music, like it matters, your voice matters and will
appreciate
make a
that.
difference in making those decisions, you know?
It's a lot of, some things that sometimes aren't realized are like when you take a music room and then you put cabinets in them because you have a lot of things, right?
Yeah,
It can compromise the space, so right, so these are decisions that I'm sure will be made to make sure that best use of space for the students.
yeah,
in
like
that.
I, start to look around and see what are other places doing, like, cutting edge stuff that's out there, and acoustically and things like that, like those are important things.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so start dreaming.
Always.
I gotta
We're
say,
musicians, we're
here.
always dreaming.
Anyway, but,
Absolutely.
yeah, good. You've done a nice job this year.
Thank you.
As we evolve to more of the digital music opportunities and kids with that plans going their music. Do the programs that we have and that we're using have governors or controls on the volume levels for students?
I love that question, because I think I told you my thinking behind the volume on the headphones and those sorts of things. One of the things that when I order, I know for the middle school, I make sure of is that there's a control that the students can't put headphones on and jack it to, 20. But I'm gonna look more into some controls for the high school and see if we can come up with what they have out there, because I do think that's important. Our students are killing their, bad word, but like their ears for future, and
Question. It's
the headphones are
it's
the
a
piece,
global health emergency right now
right?
that a lot of folks aren't aware of, but it's increasing tremendously. And, schools are a big part of it, in their general life, but as personal audio devices, but anything over 70 decibels is absolutely doing damage, and it's, and the kids aren't aware, families aren't aware, and lots of times educators aren't aware, so.
Well, thanks. I will look more into it also see what we can do for the high school lab. And
There are apps both for individuals and for these programs that will track your listening history, your volume history, and will warn you if you're getting into the dangerous zone. And from my perspective, all schools should have them, but I mean, these are things that, in industry, OSHA controls, schools do not, and, but it's, it's a huge issue. We're talking, I mean, not to belabor the point, but the CDC is estimating right now between the ages of 6 and 19, almost 20% of young people currently have measurable hearing loss. It's huge. And they estimate in 50 years, 1 in 4 people across the globe will have hearing loss, and it's mostly because of tremendous exposure to volume over periods of time.
right. Okay.
Something to think about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Leah will be back on June 6th with her CRC reviewed units and proposals for the board adoption. But I want to take a moment just to acknowledge like all of the changes that you see come with a huge amount of analysis, student feedback, commitment to professional development. We've had providers on the digital music platform working with our teachers Leah has found every single resource that's out there to make sure that this is an improvement moment for our K through 12 department. So I just want to thank her. She's worked really hard on that.
Thank you.
So I think the department appreciates the leadership.
Thanks. I am grateful to have wonderful teachers
Yeah.
on my team
They're great.
and just a wonderful team in general here in Madison. So it's been it's been a growth process for me also professionally. It's been wonderful. So I appreciate the opportunity.
It's really neat to see someone working on strings curriculum for orchestra, band, and then vocals in the same room, all exchanging ideas and stuff. So that was last week, I believe.
Yeah,
Meeting
absolutely.
with Leah at the helm. I don't know how you keep them all straight, but they're doing great.
Yeah.
Underscore what Seth said, I mean, it's, you know, so gratifying, it makes you so proud that, you know, in Madison, music isn't, and the arts are not, you know, a sidebar in addition to what we generally do, it's at the core of what we do, you know, and that's, you know, that's not always true in communities, but it's, you know, something to be proud of there. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for working to
Anybody
recognize
got
that and to provide
Public
the
comment?
curriculum. That addresses.
Barring any other questions, adjourn and thank you.
All right.
Thank
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Leah.
Thanks,
Pleasure to see all of you.
Congratulations.
Thanks.